Did the women's win?
What's that?
The women's basketball team win?
They did.
Good, good, good.
The Browns lost.
The Brownies lost. The Bengals win? The Browns, who they beat?
The Ravens, but the Ravens got an onside kick and then just played terrible offense.
Really?
Yeah.
What about the Bengals? Okay. Ooh. Depends who's asking, you know. When I'm close to home, I say Bengals, but you know, my wife she's as close to Cleveland as you're going to get, and so when her family asks, I say I'm a Browns guy, you know. And I was talking to the GM of the Browns the other day, and he invited me to a game, so I said I'm definitely a Browns guy, you know. So, no doubt, absolutely. We'll have to change it up, huh? That's good, man. I'm just going to start off. The first two practices have been. It's been an adjustment for me. I know adjustment for our guys, but I've been extremely pleased with the work that's gotten done. It was these guys they're competing. We're doing a lot of good on good right now, not scheme versus Oklahoma State as much as, hey, let's work on ourselves. And so it's been really good to see them flying around out there. I'm adjusting every day, you know, trying to get used to where to go, where to run to. I'm a man without a home right now, but it's been really fun to be around this group of guys. And I wanted to address one more thing before we go open up for questions. Just, my feelings on Ohio State. And I want to make sure to be very clear that, you know, the relationships, the time that I spent in Columbus have impacted me and had relationships that I've built that will be with me for the rest of my life. And so I'm very passionate about being a head coach here, but in no way do I want to diminish my time in Columbus and the impact that time has made on me. So I want to make sure I'm clear about that. And then let's open up for questions.
You guys have a question? Raise your hand. We'll get you the mic. We'll start in the back. Mike Hutton, go ahead.
Yeah, Blake Fisher looked like he was out there working out. Is he going to be ready for the bowl game?
So I asked Rob, our trainer, this morning. I'm like, hey, where's Blake Fisher at right now? And he said, hey, we're going to, right now, probably individual and do, you know, as much as he can tolerate. I look, we're in team, and he's out there. And so he was out there getting some team reps. So I don't know if he'll be full go released for the game yet, but to see him out there during team reps is extremely encouraging. And so it's good to have him out there.
Next up is Austin Huff in the back.
Marcus, with Kyron gone now, how much are you looking at Logan and Chris Tyree to really carry the load there in the backfield for you guys in this bowl game and beyond, obviously, as well?
Yeah, they've done a good job. You know, to see Logan out there, he's done a great job, obviously, just being a freshman. But I told him I don't consider you a freshman anymore. You know, he's an experienced guy throughout the course of this year. And Tyree, Chris has done a great job. He brings a different element of speed to the backfield. And then even Audric's done a good job. He's a big, physical running back. He was punishing a couple people yesterday. So it's good to have that three-man crew kind of going out there and kind of sharing the load. But it'll be exciting. There's no Kyron Williams. You know, there's only one Kyron Williams, and we have to replace his production, right? And that's been the challenge. That hey, we don't have to be Kyron Williams, but you got to replace the production that he gave to our offense.
Up next is Eric Hansen in the front to your right.
Hey, Marcus, one thing I want to ask you, I mean, you were a ton of states, lots of miles on the recruiting trail before these practices. What's your biggest takeaway from those trips, other than probably a little sleep?
Yeah, it was a wild couple days. You know, from the minute you leave the press conference, you have a team meeting. We hopped on a plane, and it was nonstop. And poor Chad Bowden was with me the whole time, and Emily. And I feel bad for those two, you know, because there was a lot of different places and not a lot of sleep. But you know, for me, it was a chance. I wanted to make it a point of emphasis to see as many of our offensive commitments that we've had. And I have not had the opportunity to really develop a relationship with those guys and their families. And so that was a huge point of emphasis. And if there was a defensive commit that was nearby, I wanted to try to see them too. But, you know, people love Notre Dame. And these kids are committed to Notre Dame because of what Notre Dame is going to do for their future. And that was really, really refreshing to hear from my point of view. This isn't about a coach. It's not about, any other reason other than they know what Notre Dame is going to do for their athletic career and their future. And so it was encouraging to be in those homes.
Again, with you being gone a lot, I'm sure not everything has fallen into place yet. I know that you want to leave a lot to Tommy as far as the offense. What do you see maybe as your input into the offense?
I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. As much as, hey, I want to make sure the people that are around our offensive guys are the right people. I want to make sure that we have a good balance in terms of run and pass, and I want to be good. That's the thing I told Tommy. It's not, hey, we don't have to run the ball 1,000 times. We don't have to throw the ball 1,000 times, but I want to be efficient in what we do. I want to be able to control the clock if we need to, and I want to be able to score points if we need to. And so I'm going to spend more time with Tommy in the offense just because I think it's going to help me as a coach. I've been on the defense side of the ball my entire life. And so it was something I saw Luke Fickell do, and something I'm going to probably do is spend more time with those guys to learn ball and to be able to give them input from a defensive point of view. And so I look forward to doing that.
Last one from me. It didn't look, from what I observed, Ramon Henderson was out there, but it didn't look like he was doing everything. Is he still kind of working back from that hamstring?
Yeah, he's not full go yet, but we expect him to be full go, obviously, on January 1st. And he's getting there. He ran full speed, but in a training session, but he did not go full go today, and that's very precautionary on our part, but we expect him to be full go for the Fiesta Bowl.
Pete Sampson is next to the front to your left.
Marcus, as far as special teams go, how do you want that run over the next couple weeks in terms of who actually takes command of it?
Yeah, I've gotten with Nick Lazinski to really kind of dive in deep into that role, and he's done a great job. I know he met with Coach Polian before Coach Polian left, and again, like I told Nick, it's about simplicity. It's about let's get lined up and make sure everybody knows what we're doing. Let's play fast, and he's done a great job in terms of just diving in and making sure he can teach it the way they've been taught, and I'll be involved. I'm going to be involved with special teams. I've always been involved with special teams. Even during the season, I've always been in every special teams meeting. So I will be involved with the special teams, but Nick Lazinski has kind of taken that leadership role.
A couple of practice format things. The sort of competitive 3 reps or 5 reps that you have before, like what's the genesis of that? Why do you like it? What do you want the guys to get out of it?
Yeah, we call it our opener. And, again, it's a competitive situation. Offense versus defense, they don't know what it's going to be, and I want to put the ball down and see our guys compete. And if you lose, you're going to have you got to run a gasser, and it's nothing more than continue to develop that competitive spirit, that mindset that everything in our power is to win. If I got a chance to make a play, I got to make the play, and that's what I try to reiterate to the team today. It's about when your opportunity presents itself, you got to make the play, and that's all I'm trying to create during those periods.
Last thing, I think in warm-ups, you're going through. I think you made physical contact with every player on the roster. I'm assuming it's intentional. Why is that important to you? Like, it's sort of like an opener. Hey, I'm the new head coach. I need to get to know everybody.
I've done that since the first day I was here. Okay. And it was very intentional back then to get to know these guys, not just the defensive guys, but the offensive guys and the special teams guys. And so I did that every day to try to learn these guys, learn their names, their faces, and just let them know, hey, I'm with you. And so when I become the head coach, it's nothing that's going to change, right? I want these guys because they were all looking at first day like, hey, is he going to go through the lines and shake our hands and give us a hug? And stood right there, and I did it. And it's nothing changing of who I am because of this position. This has always been about those guys, and it will continue to be about those guys.
Tim Priester is next in the back to the right.
It sounded like Tommy Rees was an integral part of everything that you wanted to do moving forward and taking the job. What gives you the faith to put that trust in him? I know recently he talked about, the autonomy that he will have with the offense without Coach Kelly around.
Well, I told him what a great opportunity for him to work for a head coach that's not an offensive guy, right? And I kind of went through that in my transition from Cincinnati here, and Luke Fickell's obviously a defensive guy, and he was always a sounding board for me, somebody that I can go into his office and say, hey, what do you think? What's your thoughts on this? Well, I'm sure Tommy had that with Coach Kelly. And now coming here for myself, it made me grow and say, oh, I don't have that head coach to go and bounce things off of. I got to depend on myself and the staff. And that's what's going to be great for Tommy is he's got to depend on himself and those guys surrounding him. So I did my most growing, I think, this year as a coordinator, as a leader. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for him. But as I told Tommy, he's got to know that he's got a head coach that he can trust. Right? We haven't been together all year long, but he's got to continue to know that I always will have his back. And so you know what? If you're dying to do something offensively and you come to me with conviction, let's do it. If you're dying to do something personnel-wise, you come to me, let's do it, because I always have your back, and that's something that we'll continue to work on.
I know you said today's practice was good on good and about you guys, and I'm sure you'll delve into Oklahoma State much deeper. But at this point, what are the concerning points? What has your attention the most with Oklahoma State?
For me personally, it hasn't been much, and our staffs have. And I've kind of, with recruiting being on the road, with this weekend, having recruiting weekends, and with Katie coming into my office every 5 minutes with something to do, I told the staffs, I don't want to slow you down. That's the biggest thing, the defense staff. You guys start game planning like I'm not here. And I'll be in here when I can. And that tomorrow will be a big day for us as we turn into game planning mode. But those guys will put a good start to what we're doing. And I told them, when I walked out of the room, I said, listen, everybody's role is going to increase because my role has changed. And so we all have to pick up the production that I had. So every single person from Elston, O'Leary, and Mickens, and all those guys, all their roles will increase for this bowl game. We have not decided who's calling it. We don't know who's doing anything, except for everybody's role is increased in terms of game planning right now.
I saw Maris Leofau out there. I'm sure he's not as far along as Blake Fisher, but how's he doing? Where is he?
Oh, he's great, man. He just brings the energy to our entire team. But he's not ready, but it's good to have him out there. And he's not doing any team reps. He's doing some individual stuff. And he's not to the point where we would even think he could play, but he is just – it's good to have him out there and seeing the progression that he's made. And
last thing, Kyron Williams and Kyle Hamilton, will they be on the sideline on game day with you, or what involvement will they have?
I told him absolutely. And so, again, when you decide to go pro, you're really saying, hey, I'm moving on, and I'm going to be a former player. And if a former player wants to come back to a game, absolutely allowed to. And so we love those guys, and what they've done for our program. And we have to continue to get ready as this current team to beat Oklahoma State. But if those guys want to come to the game, they know they're more than welcome.
They haven't indicated one way or another?
No, they haven't said if they're going to come or not.
All right.
No.
Thank you.
No.
Tyler James is next in the front to the left.
Marcus, we heard about how much of a role the captain's played in sort of asking for you to be the next head coach. I'm curious, what sort of role have they played since you've become the head coach and sort of carrying this transition over? Well,
I've leaned on them heavily in terms of a lot of what we're going to do in this bowl preparation, what we're going to do in terms of, hey, I even asked them, hey, how much media do you want at practice? Do you want the media there? Hey, what's your thoughts on practice times? Hey, what's the curfew times? I'm leaning on those guys to have ownership in terms of how this bowl preparation is going to be, and that's a great group of guys. They all have different ideas, but they're all team guys, and they've been my core. They've been the people I lean on the most in terms of how we move forward.
You said you're sort of without a home at practice. It's sort of a new thing for you. What is the hardest part about that, based on how you used to operate practice versus going through the first two of these last 2 days?
I'm just trying to figure out where the heck to go, And so I find myself running to the defensive side sometimes. No, I can't go back there. Like we were doing field goal today, and I was going behind the defense. That's where I always go. And I said, no, I got to go behind the offense. And, I think for me, it's now you can't cheer for the defense. Like, you can't want the defense to win every rep. No, I want the offensive guys to have some great reps, and I know Myron might not like it, but it's really good. And you just want to see guys playing fast. You want to see guys finishing, and that's what my eyes have been. Hey, are we finishing? Are we running back to the huddle? Are we covering the ball down? Are guys playing physical? Are we playing on our feet? And those are the things that I'm looking at right now. And still figuring out I was a little bit more comfortable today than I was yesterday. I'm sure the next time we're out of practice, I'll be a little bit more comfortable in where I go. But I've got to figure out where I'm going for individual period right now. And the linebackers they're kind of looking at me weird when I come over there. So I got to figure out where I'm going to go for those periods.
Are you leaning on Nick more to help with the linebackers?
Yes, he's taking a big leadership role in the linebacker room. And so he was been with me all year. He's been in every linebacker meeting, so he knows exactly the progression that we have in our linebacker room, and he's been doing a great job in our individual periods.
Thank you.
Tim O'Malley in the middle to the right.
Middle. It's unique for you, but bowl prep is always a little different for coaches, whether you're in a playoff game, a big bowl game, an early bowl game. You have to navigate finals, once you kind of settle into your role, how do you see these next 2 weeks going? You said you're going to start some bowl prep for Oklahoma State going forward here.
Yeah, these next 2 days, these guys are going to focus on finishing their finals. And that's most important on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning is about finish your finals, okay? Then Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, we'll get back on the practice field and kind of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and then go until the 23rd. And then we'll give them a little bit time off, and we'll meet in Phoenix on the 26th. And so that's going to be how these next couple weeks go. But I think for our staff, Monday and Tuesday are going to be big preparation days. We've already started the foundation of what we're going to do. Okay, but I'm talking about the schematics of the situational stuff. That's going to happen these next 2 days, because that's, to me, where the success happens, right, is your base downs for us defensively and offensively. You're going to do what you do, right? You're going to do the core of what you do. But to me, the scheme and the stuff comes in on third down, a different situation. That's where we're going to spend a lot of time making sure we have a plan to have success.
I know things can change on January 2nd and that next week, but these next 3 weeks, do you expect the staff to remain intact to prepare for the Fiesta Bowl?
Absolutely.
Patrick Engel in the front.
Yep. Marcus, when you guys had to replace Kyle, I'm curious kind of what you saw from Ramon eventually, from your perspective in being on a defensive coach, that allowed him to kind of slide in there pretty easily. And then Xavier, what kind of made him settle in that safety spot to where now those guys seem to assimilate in there pretty quickly?
Yeah, we were looking for speed and length, right? That's what you lose when you lose a Kyle Hamilton, is that length and speed and obviously the playmaking ability that he has. But that's why he'll be a top whatever pick, because of the ability to make plays. But we needed some length and speed. And Ramon was obviously, he was at corner, and we kind of double cross-trained him a little bit during fall camp. We cross-trained him a little bit during the bye week, and he showed that he can do it. A lot of times in that field safety position, we have you playing man. It's just off man, right? And so when you ask somebody to do that, something a corner does often. The field corner does that often. And so those are the things we're looking for. And the transition for him, I still didn't know going into the game he was going to be as impactful as he was. It was really after that game I said, oh, we found one. You know, Ramon Henderson is a guy that can make plays. He's a guy that can do exactly what we need to do at the field safety position. X was a guy that we moved from wideout to safety probably week 3, 4, somewhere early in the season. And, you know, it's really hard when you change position. We actually moved him to rover first. And then we moved him back to safety, and it's hard to really evaluate somebody during the middle of the season. And so I know during bye week we threw him in there a little bit more, and he just kept finding a way to make plays. It wasn't always the greatest technique. He wasn't always in the perfect position, but he made plays. And I said, okay, there's something about this guy. Then we throw him in the game, and the first time he really kind of showed up was the Navy game. And he made some big plays, and I said, man, he's doing some things naturally that not everybody has shown the ability to do. And so he's still learning. He's still learning exactly where to line up, exactly what his body position should be. But the ability to make plays, sometimes it's just God-given. And I think he has some of that.
And how much time, or really what were you able to notice about Jack Cohn just from spring until the Stanford week, basically? And then kind of what else, spending probably time around him in new ways, have you kind of seen and observed about him and his, I guess, command of the offense right now and his role in that?
Yeah, he's got that natural just leadership, quarterback moxie about him that you like. That's the one thing that I noticed about Jack, just being around him, especially on the defense side of the field, is just that he had that leadership, capabilities that you look for in a quarterback, and he makes good decisions. That's the one thing, just talking to Tommy and just a couple of times, hey, Tommy, as a defense coordinator, hey, what's your thoughts on Jack, on Drew, on Tyler? And Tommy just, hey, Jack will make the right decision. That doesn't mean he's perfect, but it means if you have somebody that's going to make the right decision, a lot of times that means you're going to take care of the football. And so my relationship with Jack has grown, obviously, as the head coach now, because he's one of our leaders. He's a guy that came in here. He really changed himself to understand the Notre Dame way. Right? He didn't come in here saying, I'm going to be, hey, you guys are going to change to me. He came in here and said, hey, how do you do things here? Right? What's the standard? And I'm going to do it as hard as I can. And he's done an unbelievable job, and he's a lot of fun to be around. He's a great addition, obviously, for our offense.
Tyler Horka's next on the front.
Marcus, on Kyle and Kyron, I'm curious if it was a situation where they had already made up their mind and they came to you, or what was that conversation like in them declaring for the NFL draft and specifically deciding to skip the bowl game?
Yeah, both of them, after I became head coach, came to me and said, hey, we've made our decision. Well, they obviously did it separate, but, we have already made our decision that, hey, we're going to move forward and start training for the NFL draft. So it wasn't a discussion on, hey, what do you think? Well, with what I think, come back, come play. But it was, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And so as I told them, I support them 100%. And no matter what they decide, they're always going to have the support of us. They know that they're a part of what we've done and what we're going to continue to do moving forward. And so those are special guys, man, that have done a lot of stuff for this program, and I wish them all the best.
And on that note, it looked like most of the other guys that might have a decision after the season were out there today. Do you anticipate having to have those conversations going into the bowl game, or was what you got?
I hope not. I think everybody that's out there on the practice field is fully committed to doing whatever it takes to finish the season off as champions. And I said that in the first team meeting, hey, if you're in this room, you got to understand we have one mission to finish the season as champions. And these guys have been all committed, and they've done everything we've asked.
And then lastly from me, just curious what it was like going into that first practice yesterday. You mentioned that it's been a lot different trying to navigate your way through the practices, but just where was your mindset going into that one, knowing that it was your first practice as a head coach, and were you kind of all over the place even before you got on the field too?
Yeah, it was different. There's a lot of first, right? When you become the head coach of Notre Dame, there's a lot of first. And the second and third time and the fourth time, you get more and more comfortable. But the first, for everything, the first time you're on College game day, the first time you're in an arena like yesterday, the first time you're speaking to reports, whatever it is, right, there's a lot of firsts, and you have to get used to it. And yesterday you can try to prepare as much as you want. You don't know what to expect. You get out there and say, okay, I guess I got to blow the whistle. I'm going to bring them up, and they're going, me, okay, what period, who blows the horn? There's a lot of little things that I'm so used for my entire coaching career somebody else doing, right, in terms of how we're dressing, what time we're on the field, how we're transitioning from station to station, drill to drill. Those are the things that it's going to take some adjusting. And obviously today was a little bit better than yesterday for me. Right, and hopefully Wednesday is going to be a little bit better than today, and so you'll get more and more comfortable. But as Jack Swarbrick said yesterday, I said at some point this is going to become normal. Like, it's not going to be something new every day. He said, no, it'll always be something new. So I'm ready for it.
Dylan Sin is next in the back to the left.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about on the recruiting trail going out and meeting some of those offensive players that you haven't built as much of a relationship with yet. How do you do that with the current offensive players on this team, and how do you go about building those relationships in the short time you have here before the bowl?
It's going to take time. It's going to take time. And there's nothing you can say to build the trust of players. But to me, it's over and over repeated experience of them seeing who you are. That's the number one thing. Like, these people, these guys, these offense guys have to know who I am. There's got to be no fence up or no curtain of who Marcus Freeman is. I want you to know my family. I want you to know, what makes me happy, what makes me sad, what makes me like, they have to know who you are. Right, and if you show them your heart and you're honest with them, and you just give them your natural emotion, right, I think they'll learn to trust you and trust you and trust you. Then you got to be there for them. If they need you, right, you got to be able to be there, right. Then I think that's how you earn their trust, and it's going to take time. But I'm just going to be as honest as I can. I'm going to be who I've always been, and be honest with these guys, set clear expectations, and they're going to know I'm in this with them. Right? That's important. Where I'm a teammate. It's never coach and players. It's like we're in this thing together, right? And we're going to trust each other. And I'm going to set clear and high expectations. And I'm going to hold you to that standard, right? And when we don't achieve that standard, then we have to address it. But it's not hey, dictatorship, you're going to do what I say. And no, we're going to do this thing together. And that's what I look forward to doing.
And then you've talked a lot about, obviously, the bowl game being the number one thing you're focused on, and you want to finish the season out the right way. Do you anticipate treating it like a regular season game in terms of rotations, or are you going to try to rotate some younger players in there just to get them some big game reps?
No, I'm going to rotate the guys in there that's going to help us win. And I owe it to the seniors. I owe it to the guys. This is their last game, to put the guys on the field that are giving us the best chance to win. Like, this isn't a charity game. And this isn't, hey, let's get the young guys ready for next year. This is what do we got to do to make sure we're prepared to win? And that's what I've told them, and that's what I'll make sure I do as their head coach. Is I'll do everything in my power to make sure we put them in position to be successful.
All right, we have time for one question from Zoom. Lamont Pope, go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Coach. You mentioned just a series of firsts. Was there a moment or two that stood on out from those first couple days of practice? And then separately, being here in Chicago, You mentioned growth a little earlier. I was wondering if you can talk a little, just your growth during your period here with the Bears as well. Just what do you remember that helped you along those ways as well?
All right, we'll start with the second part of that question first. The growth with the Bears, you learn how to take defeat. Right, I went there for that long. My butt got cut real fast. You said, oof. All right, you know, and again, for me, it was a great learning experience because I was never outside of my comfort zone when I went to Ohio State. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. I went to Ohio State. I had a lot of friends on that team, and you were never really pushed outside your comfort zone. The minute I got to Chicago and I was by myself, right, my family was back home, I said, ooh, it's a little bit uncomfortable. And that helped me grow, right? It helped me get to this point where, you know, hey, you can handle being outside your comfort zone. And I use this in recruiting because I tell these guys, the unique part about Notre Dame is South Bend isn't home for many of our players, maybe one or two. So everybody coming to South Bend is coming from outside. And so they learn how to lean on each other and get through those uncomfortable moments. And that's why, to me, the young people that come here know how to get through the homesickness and those uncomfortable times that I went through all of a sudden when I'm in Chicago. The first part of that question was about how I'm adjusting, right?
Yes. Well, just what did you learn from these first couple of days as well? Yes.
Yeah, one moment at a time. That's how I'm taking this thing, is one moment at a time, not looking at it as such a big challenge and such a big picture ideal. It's just one moment at a time, one task at a time, and attacking it one by one by one. It's the same way I coach these players. It's one day, one life, right? Not looking at it as how many days do we have to the Fiesta Bowl? What can we do today on practice 2 to make sure we are better prepared for January 1st than we were yesterday? And that's, to me, the mindset I have as the head coach of this team, and obviously I want our players to have.
Thanks, Coach. That's all the time I have.
Thanks, guys.